Part 39. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 381. Chapter 381, Precious Delicacies. One more, please customize. Sudbai asked the fox-eared lady to clean the potatoes, and told her to wash them thoroughly. He doesn't want to peel them anymore. Originally, many potatoes can be cooked without peeling them, which doesn't affect them at all. Especially the salt and pepper potatoes and small potatoes are cooked in the same way without removing the skins. Woo, I've already washed it. Can you see if it's okay? Yu Ying handed over some washed potatoes. Very good, Sudbai nodded and said. Tap tap tap. Yanhua and the cat-eared girls also came back from outside and had changed out of their wet clothes. However, their hair is still wet, but they don't care about these things, as long as they dry their bodies, it will be fine. Woo, why are you baking something by yourself today? Yanhua saw the potato in the other person's hand at a glance. Of course Shalan also saw it, blinking her blue eyes and asked Woo, what is that? The wizard said it was potatoes, and today we had fried potato cubes for breakfast. Yu Ying stood up immediately and said. The expression on fox-ear girl's face can be said to be one of great expectation, with the word expectation written in the middle of her forehead. Potato? Yanhua heard these two words for the first time. Is it something made of clay? It doesn't look like it, but it looks very similar to sweet potatoes. Shalan is still relatively rational. Yu Ying smiled and shook her pink foxtail and said, the witch said this potato is. The fox-eared lady smiled and explained the potato to the two of them, and also said that it would taste delicious, although she had not eaten it yet. What are you doing? Coco also came to the third floor. When she got up in the morning, she opened the door and found no one. But she found the stairs again. Although she didn't know what the stairs were, her curiosity drove her to go up. That stairs really made the blonde girl very happy. She was surprised. Every step was as solid as walking on flat ground, and she could go higher and higher. Then she came to the third floor. After seeing the third floor, the girl was stunned again. If she hadn't heard the fox judging from the girl's voice, I guess she can stand there for a long time. We are making breakfast. Yu Ying immediately ran over and held the girl's hand. The fox-eared girl's character has begun to slowly change, and she is no longer the submissive person she was before. Although she is not completely bold yet, in front of acquaintances I am no longer timid, but more lively. Thank you, Coco said to Sudbai. She thought about it all night last night and felt that she should seriously thank the person who saved her. What's more, the person was such a noble witch of this tribe and gave her such a good room to sleep in. But also to be grateful. Sit down first, you can eat soon. Sudbai nodded lightly and continued to teach the fox-eared lady, turn it over immediately when it turns golden brown. After the fox-eared lady gave him the washed potatoes, she cut them into several pieces with a knife. They were not big, but the shapes were very uniform, and the shapes were similar. Clear? Yu Ying nodded seriously. She didn't dare to look around with her pink eyes. She only dared to stare at the potatoes carefully. Zilla zilla. The potatoes kept sizzling on the iron pot, and the fragrance filled the air. Smell good. Yanhua took 2 deep breaths of the fragrance wafting out, and her red eyes were immediately filled with anticipation. It will feel delicious. Shalan also inhaled the scent and kept fanning it with her hands. What is this doing? It feels like, it's like I haven't seen it before, Coco murmured to herself. The blonde girl saw the iron pot and the knife at a glance, which she had never added before. Her golden eyes kept looking at those two things, and the potato came to her. That's not bad. My main attention was on observing the iron pot, wondering what on earth it was. What's wrong with you? Yanhua saw the blonde girl's dazed look. Coco pointed to the iron pot and asked, what is that, made of stone? Although she asked this question, she didn't feel that the thing was made of stone. Not made of stone, The witch said it was. It's iron. Yes, that seems to be it. Yanhua said. Coco frowned. Why had she never heard of this word before? What is iron? The blonde girl was so curious that she felt like there was nothing else in her head except the desire to explore these things. I don't know either, it's the first time I've heard of it. Yanhua shook her head and said. Iron, Coco murmured to himself, frowning and lost in thought, thinking that he would have to figure it out later. Zilla Zilla. Yueying also started to operate. After frying the potato pieces, she placed the potatoes on the leaves. This is what Subai ordered. By doing this, you don't have to wash the dishes for breakfast, and the leaves can absorb oil very well, so you can eat less greasy in the morning. The fox-eared lady also made a cup of tea for everyone, which was also Subai's order. It tasted good when eaten with potato pieces. Which, this is yours. Yu Ying handed over a few potato cubes with some dried meat on them. In addition to frying several potato cubes, she also fried some dried meat as side dishes. KK was stunned when she looked at the food in front of her. Okay, this is the first time I have seen this kind of food. Even if my memory is not clear, I can still clearly know that I have never seen these foods before. Give it a try, you'll love the taste, Subai said softly, and took the first bite. Yanhua and the others also started eating, and they all picked up their chopsticks and moved them towards the potato. It's delicious. It tastes different from sweet potatoes, Yu Ying said happily. The fox-eared girl was so happy that her pink foxtail kept wagging. She really liked the soft and waxy feeling of potatoes. Yes, it's really good, and it smells great. Shalan also found it incredible. The cat-eared girl really didn't expect that this seemingly inconspicuous thing would taste so delicious. So fragrant, so crispy and soft on the inside. Yanhua ate 3 or 4 pieces of potatoes in succession. This was the first time the girls tried to eat potatoes, and they were fried potatoes with some salt sprinkled on them. They tasted crispy, sweet, and salty at the same time. The taste of salt is really good for primitive tribesmen who are used to eating fat meat. Although these flavors are everywhere on the earth and many people don't like them, among primitive tribes, this taste is precious. Of delicacies. This taste, Coco was shocked after taking the first bite. Please update for support and customization. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 382. Chapter 382, covered with some plant ash. 2 more please customize. How about it? Isn't it delicious? Subai asked with a smile. She saw the girl's face was full of exclamation, and she forgot to chew the potato pieces for a while. Tasty. Coco nodded without hesitation. What is this? Why does it taste so delicious? The blonde girl was very surprised. Although she said she couldn't remember anything, she was sure she had never tasted this food before. This was definitely the first time she had tasted this kind of food. It was very different from meat. It was completely different. 2 experiences. Let me tell you, roasted sweet potatoes are also delicious, they taste so fragrant. Yanhua began to miss roasted sweet potatoes. Now, like the fox-eared girl, she would go to the greenhouse whenever she had time to see how the sweet potatoes were growing. If it's delicious, eat more, there's plenty more, Subai said softly. There were still a lot of potato pieces in the iron pot, and there was a lot of salt on them. They looked very delicious. Half an hour later, everyone simply finished their breakfast, and everyone was still thinking about the potatoes. Fragrance. Woo, there are still a lot of potatoes. We can eat them for several days. Yu Ying saw a small bag of potatoes next to her. This is not used for eating, all of this must be used for planting, Subai said. Just eat a little to try it out. The most important thing is to plant these potatoes, otherwise you won't have to eat them in the future. I don't know how long it will take to wait for the system to be opened again. It's better to plant them first, and then save the seeds again. Can these also be used for planting? Yu Ying asked curiously. Of course, just bury these in the soil. They will sprout after a while, and then many potatoes will grow, Subai said. Yu Ying nodded thoughtfully, leaned over and picked up the potatoes and said, I'll plant them right now. Don't worry, there are still many steps to do before planting. Subai signaled the other party not to be so anxious. Anything else to do? Yu Ying twitched her pink fox ears. You need to process the potatoes before planting, so that you can plant more. If you just put a whole potato in, there will be fewer of them, Subai explained. Yu Ying blinked her pink eyes in confusion and asked Wu, why don't you cut it open if you don't put it down whole? Bai nodded without hesitation and replied, well, we just need to cut it open so that we can plant more. Which, you can't grow potatoes if you cut them open, right? He might die. Yu Ying suspected that she had heard wrongly. Ha 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 ha, how could it be possible? Potatoes can still sprout if they are cut into pieces. Subai smiled and said. Of course he was talking about those big potatoes. It would be nice if the potatoes were small and just stuffed into the soil. It just so happened that the potatoes that came out of the system this time were all very big, larger than adults. The fist should be bigger. It would be a waste if you don't cut it. After cutting it, it can turn into several plants. So that's it, Wu, but why do you need to cut it open? Isn't it good to have one whole pill? Yu Ying asked curiously. We don't have many potatoes to begin with, and there are so many people in the tribe. If we cut the potatoes and plant them, we can get more potatoes in the future, Subai explained. In fact, the biggest reason for cutting potatoes for sowing is to save costs, and the number of potatoes is not large. In fact, planting is very simple. Just put the potatoes in a moist place for a few more days or put some water. In this way, the potatoes will sprout slowly. After sprouting, stick the potatoes of more than 100 grams from the tail. Cut them diagonally upward according to the arrangement of the sprouts, and finally gather the sprouts at the top. On the cross, cut the potatoes into 4 pieces. When cutting the potatoes, pay attention to whether there is anything bad about the potatoes, such as being sick or rotten. If this happens, you need to remove that piece. Go out. But Subai doesn't want to go to that trouble. Now he can just cut the potatoes into pieces and plant them. There is no need to go to too much trouble. Anyway, with the plant growth technique, these potatoes will not be any worse. So that's it. Yu Ying nodded and said. Bring me the knife, and then prepare some plant ash for me, Subai ordered. Yes. Yu Ying handed over the fruit knife, turned around and started collecting plant ash with a dustpan. Subai cut a whole potato into several pieces, leaving sprout eyes on each piece of potato in order to sprout. Cut all the potatoes. After cutting them all, put the cut potato pieces into the dustpan filled with plant ash. Then start rolling them, making sure that the surface of each potato piece is covered with plant ash. Why are the potatoes covered with plant ashes? Yu Ying asked curiously. In this way, potatoes can grow faster. The main thing is, Subai explained simply. In fact, plant ash is a very good fertilizer and a good potassium fertilizer. Therefore, sprinkling plant ash on potato pieces is equivalent to applying a layer of base fertilizer for potato planting, which will promote potato growth. However, mixing potato seeds with plant ash is by no means as simple as just applying fertilizer, because from the perspective of fertilization, there is no need to adopt this method, and it is more convenient to apply it directly into the soil. Potatoes are seed dressed with plant ash. The most direct effect is to dry and sterilize. We all know that when potatoes are cut, some moisture will come out. If they are not dried in time, the cut surfaces will be attacked by various bacteria. Rotting is easy to occur when planting potatoes, and plant ash has this effect, which can quickly dry, clean the surface and kill bacteria. After freshly cut potato pieces are sprinkled with plant ash, This alkalinity can clean the cutting surface. It can also reduce bacterial invasion and dry quickly, preventing the surface of potato pieces from rotting. At the same time, plant ash is planted into the ground with potato seeds. Because it does not dissolve in water, it will remain in the soil for a long time. Not only that, the unique smell of plant ash will reduce the invasion of underground pests, thus effectively ensuring the growth rate of potatoes. It turns out that this is the case. It turns out that you can still do this by growing potatoes. I learned how to do it. Yu Ying nodded seriously. Okay, these potatoes are all covered with plant ash, let's plant them. Subai smiled and said. Woo, can it just be buried directly in the soil? Yu Ying asked curiously. Subai thought for a moment, then stood up and said, let's go, I haven't been out for the past 2 days. I went out for a walk while teaching you how to plant. He stayed in the room for too long and wanted to go out and feel the atmosphere of the rainy season. Okay, then I'll get Wu an umbrella, Yu Ying said immediately. Second update, please support and customize. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 383. Chapter 383, The Botanical Garden Without Rain. One more please customize. Tap tap tap. Subai and others left the cement house and started walking towards the wooden shed. Each of them held an umbrella. Pitter patter. L. The rain is still falling from the sky, making a dull sound when it falls on the umbrella, and a crisp sound when it falls on the ground. Coco kept raising her head curiously, her face full of surprise. This thing, what is this thing? This is the first time she has seen this kind of thing. This strange shaped thing can actually protect them from the rain. Moreover, this thing looks very convenient, just hold it in your hand, and it can cover the eyes. The area of rainwater is also very large, so there is no need to worry about other places being caught by the rain. This is an umbrella, and it is also a witchcraft idea, Yanhua explained beside her. The horned lady also loves this umbrella, but she rarely uses it because she usually wears a raincoat when going out for training. On the contrary, the fox-eared lady uses it more, going to the toilet and greenhouse. These are all held under umbrellas. Umbrella, Coco frowned, it was the first time she heard a new word. But this thing made her very curious, and her golden eyes kept looking left and right, trying to figure out what this umbrella was. Since she woke up yesterday after that, the blonde girl was like a curious baby, wanting to know all kinds of new things. She even wanted to find out how these things were made, and wanted to try them out herself. It's just something you use on rainy days. Very few people have this thing, Yu Ying echoed. Coco nodded thoughtfully, but her eyes never moved away from the umbrella. Tap tap tap. They kept walking towards the greenhouse, and the rain continued to fall. Coco realized that the houses around her were all very high, and quickly turned around to look behind her. It was okay for her not to look at it. Once she looked at it, she was stunned and said in shock, what is this? The blonde girl saw the 4-story central house and the surrounding 2-story cement houses. There were more than 10 buildings, and each one was made of stone. It was simply, this is incredible. Because it was night and raining yesterday, she only saw the glass and did not notice the 2-story cement houses. This is a stone house, which can better protect against wind and rain, Yu Ying said immediately. Fox Niang thought that the other party had discovered it a long time ago, but she didn't expect that she only discovered these houses now. A house made of stone? Can a house made of stone be built so high? Coco exclaimed. Although her memory is gone, she thinks the stone house is unreasonable. How can stones be built so high after being glued together? This can't be justified at all. Of course, There are many ways for the witch to continue building stone houses after the rainy season, Yu Ying said proudly. Good, so amazing. Coco has been shocked beyond measure. Everything from last night to now makes her feel incredible. Even if her memory is gone, these things cannot be explained by common sense. The blonde girl didn't even take 2 steps before she realized something was wrong. Where she suddenly stopped, she looked down at the place where she stepped on the ground. This again, Coco saw that he was standing on a flat ground. There was no accumulation of water where he stepped, and there was no muddy feeling. It seemed as if, it's like standing on a rock, but the rock is very flat. This is a cement road, and it's a witch's way, so we don't have to get our feet dirty, Yu Ying explained. These days, Fox-ear girl likes to walk on this road. Every day when she leaves the cement house and goes to the wooden shed, she passes by this road. And this road is very flat and wide. You don't have to worry about getting your feet covered in mud when you get up. You don't have to worry about being stuck in the mud after just 2 steps. The solid feeling makes people feel very at ease. Cement road. What is it again? Coco frowned tightly, feeling that this time would be very strange. But now she can't figure out whether this is what she remembered before or whether these are new things. Because she has heard too many things since last night. New vocabulary, all these words are unfamiliar to her. She doesn't know whether these are true or false. Could they be the memories she lost before? But it doesn't make sense. She still remembers the wooden house, the fire pit and the hay. There were piles of things like that, but there were only no memories of glass, umbrellas, and concrete roads. After thinking about it, she began to feel that these things should have nothing to do with her memory, otherwise she would not have forgotten these most basic things. Subai saw the blonde girl kept frowning, covering her head from time to time, and said softly, "Don't think so much, these are things you don't have in your memory before." The reason why he is so sure is that he knows that people from primitive tribes cannot invent these things for the time being. These things are products that require time and progress and the development of civilization. The primitive tribes have no way for the time being. Keek slowly put down his hand. There is no point in worrying about it now. Tap tap tap. Subai and others walked to the wooden shed, and everyone put away their umbrellas and walked in. As soon as you enter, you can feel the heat rushing towards your face. The temperature inside will be higher than that outside. Of course, it is not winter now, and the temperature inside should not be too high, so ventilation will be done regularly. Make sure the temperature inside is not too high, otherwise the plants inside will be heated to death, and then the greenhouse will be meaningless. Not bad, Subai nodded with satisfaction. At this moment, the greenhouse is full of green. You can see green everywhere, such as tomatoes, wheat, sweet potatoes, and some Chinese herbal plants. Where is this place? Coco glanced around in surprise. This was the first time she saw it wasn't raining. Botanical garden? There are too many green plants inside, right? This is a greenhouse, used to grow the things we usually eat, Subai said softly, squatting down to check the tomatoes that had grown very tall. Greenhouse? Planting, Keek is almost dizzy. These words are too complicated. It sounds like. Well, that's more convenient. Subai didn't say too much. After all, the origin of the blonde girl was unknown, so it was difficult to say too much. Coco squatted down and looked at the crops, wondering, are these edible? The blonde girl was very confused. Aren't these things just weeds on the roadside? Why are they specially taken care of? Certainly, Subai nodded and said. Please update for support and customization. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 384. Chapter 384, remember. 2 more, please customize. Subai first asks someone to dig a medium deep channel in the open space, and then place the potato pieces evenly in the channel. He originally wanted the fox-eared girl to just plant potatoes, but after thinking about it, he hadn't planted potatoes yet, so it would be bad if the potatoes didn't turn out well. After thinking about it, it would be more appropriate to do it myself, and I can also see the growth of tomatoes and other crops. After the potato pieces were evenly placed in the channel, Subai asked people to cover them with soil. After covering it, I poured a little water on it to ensure the moisture of the soil. "Woo, is this okay?" Yu Ying asked curiously. "Well, that's good, wait until they sprout and grow up." Subai nodded lightly. The fox-eared lady nodded, walked to the place where potatoes were grown, squatted in front of them and looked at them carefully. Subai thought about it and felt that he should use the plant growth technique on them, so that the growth speed will also be greatly increased. After thinking about this thought, he stretched out his hands and started to activate the plant growth spell. After the witch patterns were formed, lavender light began to appear. Those lavender lights seemed to be guided, and began to grow. It took a minute to dig into the soil. The originally dug channel began to emit a faint purple light, which was emitted from the ground. If you dig out the potato pieces, you can see that the potato pieces are covered with purple eyes wrapped in light. So beautiful. Yu Ying kept blinking her purple eyes. She had seen Subai use witchcraft many times, so she was used to it. However, the horned lady and the cat-eared lady saw less of them. Now he was looking with his eyes wide open, as if he was afraid of missing any details. Coco was the same, his golden eyes blinked, and he opened his mouth and said, "Is this witchcraft? Memory tells me, I've seen these things." "Well, that's witchcraft." Subai put away his hand and asked, "Have you seen anyone using the same witchcraft before?" "Not the same, but almost." Coco's expression was very painful, as if she had remembered something. The blonde girl's long golden hair was scattered on the ground. She squatted down and covered her head. Her expression looked very painful. Subai stretched out his hands to construct a witchcraft pattern. Green light appeared immediately and began to flow towards the blonde girl like clouds. He looked very serious and said, "Relax, don't think too much, don't force yourself to remember if you can't remember." He thought about using healing techniques to help the girl relieve her discomfort, but it was too painful to look at the other person. Coco's upper body was surrounded by green light, and her expression looked less painful. The originally tightly frowned brows were slightly. It started to calm down a bit, and my hands were lowered from my head. "I am still nothing came to mind." Coco sighed, her expression looked very depressed. She really wanted to remember what happened to her, but she just couldn't remember anything. When she thought about it before, she felt hollow and nothingness, but now she does feel a little uncomfortable. "Got it? It's okay. Let's go back first. We'll talk about it later," Subai said softly. Coco shook her head, forced a smile and said, "It doesn't matter, I'm okay." The blonde girl doesn't want to delay everyone's work, not to mention she wants to stay here for a while. The landscape here is very surprising, and there are strange plants everywhere. "Are there any plants you recognize here?" Subai asked. He wanted to see if the blonde girl knew some of the plants inside. Maybe the plants grown by these systems are found in other places. Coco glanced around and looked at the plants carefully. He looked at them for a long time. "We'll say I have some understanding of." "Yeah? Which ones are they?" Subai asked. This was beyond his expectation. At once, just those plants. Coco pointed to the herbs in the distance. "It turned out to be those. I thought they would be tomatoes and sweet potatoes." Subai nodded thoughtfully, then slightly opened his black eyes, and continued to ask, "Are you sure?" "Yeah, I know all of these." Coco responded without hesitation. She was sure she had seen those plants before. Although she had lost her memory, she remembered them immediately when she saw them. "Aren't these only found in our hunting grounds?" "How would you know?" Yanhua's red eyes widened. Niojiao Niang looked surprised. This was simply unbelievable. She was sure that these plants could only be found in hunting grounds. That was what Uncle Kangxi said when he picked these plants. I said, if you want, you can collect more, it is only available in the hunting ground. Subai was also surprised because of this, and asked, are you from our hunting ground? Shalan shook the cat's tail and said, but there is no tribe over there at the hunting ground. The cat-eared girl has never heard her mother say this. The hunting grounds are all owned by the Yanlong tribe, and almost no tribesmen live there. Coco looked confused, fiddled with her long golden hair, and said, I remember there were many near our tribe, so it's normal. The blonde girl still remembers this very clearly. These plants look very familiar. Are there many of these near your tribe? Where is your tribe? Did you remember something? Subai asked. He wanted to know where the other party was and why she knew about these plants that were only found in hunting grounds. I don't know yet, can't remember. Coco shook her head and said. The blonde girl only thought of it based on her memory, but these things are very familiar, and she can tell where they come from at a glance. I thought you knew, just tell me if you remember. Subai nodded lightly and said. If the other party really comes from a hunting ground, it would be really incredible, and maybe it would be helpful to the development of the tribe. Coco frowned, nodded, and said, okay, I'll try my best. I also really want to remember things that I forgot before. Subai continued to look down at the growth rate of the tomatoes. He had used the plant growth technique on them before. So the tomatoes were growing very well, and they had already grown to calf height. If it had been before, the plant growth technique had not been used. At most, it can only sprout soon. Wu, when can I eat this tomato? Yu Ying asked curiously. It will be ready to eat in a little more than a week, Subai said softly, seeing that the tomatoes were almost blooming. Plants that used plant growth techniques would grow rapidly every day. This was something he discovered by accident. Originally, he wanted to continue using plant growth techniques on tomatoes the next day, but found that tomatoes grew much faster. Great. Yu Ying smiled and nodded. Second update, please support and customize. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 385. Chapter 385, there is really nothing you can do against the Vitality Girl. One more please customize. Wow. The rain in the Yanlong tribe continued to fall, as if it had no intention of letting up at all, and everywhere you looked there was a vast expanse of fog. Yanhua had changed into animal skin clothes when she got up this morning. She was reluctant to go out wearing linen clothes. She pulled the cat-eared girl and hurriedly left the cement house. Today they were going to pick mushrooms. This is also to add some food sources to the tribe. It has been raining for several days, and many mushrooms have grown in the forest. Wow! Alan, hurry up, let's go to the forest, Yanhua urged from behind. Don't worry, we will still have to gather even if we go down. Shalan said. The cat-eared girl is really full of energy after taking advantage of the year of the ox horn, and she always looks energetic. In the morning, Wu just said that she was going to the forest to pick mushrooms, and she became excited. No. It doesn't matter, it's good for us to arrive early, Yanhua said with a smile, but she couldn't hold it back in the room. She hasn't been training very frequently recently, because training in the rainy season is much more difficult than usual. After training once, her whole body will be sore for several days, so every time she trains finally, the reserve warriors all need to rest for a day or two. Only the totem warriors train more frequently, and they can sometimes train for a whole day. I really envy you. If I had half your energy, my mother would probably wake up laughing. Shalan smiled and shook her head. Tap tap tap. The two came downstairs and put on the prepared raincoats and straw hats. They also took an oversized wooden basket with them, which was as high as the girl's hips. The quality of the coir raincoat is also very good. The leaves are all waterproof, there are many layers, and the density of the pieces is very dense. The production time of a koi raincoat is not short, and only about 2 pieces can be made in a day, if Gumu had not already recruited many people. I'm afraid that before the rainy season arrives, the preparatory soldiers and totem warriors will not have so many raincoats to wear. Those apprentices help prepare leaves, slender vines, or connect leaves together, so that the ancient wood can be directly picked up and made into ready-made clothes. Let's go. Yanhua tidied up her koi raincoat. Shalan nodded and walked into the rain curtain first. Pitter-patter. Wow. The two of them walked through the rain curtain and arrived at the gathering place. Yan Jiao was already waiting, and there were also other preparatory soldiers. 10 minutes after another, all the preparatory soldiers gathered. They all stood up straight on the spot, without fear of the raindrops falling from the sky. Today is a job assigned by Wu. This job is related to what you usually eat, so this time you must take it more seriously. Yan Jiao said seriously. Of course he was happy when he heard that this mission was to increase food for the tribe. Although the tribe's current food is enough, no one would dislike having more. Clear, the preparatory soldiers responded in unison. This time we were just collecting mushrooms in the forest outside the tribe, so we didn't have to go far and it was relatively safe. Yan Jiao straightened his body, and continued, without the rain from the sky this time, there will be no totem warriors staring at you in the dark, only you. Totem warriors also have things to be busy with, such as tribal security work, river patrol work and other tasks. After all, with the arrival of the rainy season, the river water will rise, and many ferocious beasts in the river will also come ashore. Although there are not so many ferocious beasts in the early stage, you still have to be careful and don't be too careless. Clear, the prepared soldiers responded again. Then go ahead and remember the witch's advice not to pick poisonous mushrooms back, okay? Yan Jiao continued to warn. Yes, this is what the preparatory soldiers were waiting for. When everyone heard that they could leave, they were like wild horses. They all scattered and ran quickly towards the forest. Everyone was too bored in the house. Long time. Tap tap tap. Yanhua ran towards the forest on the rain-covered cement road, unable to suppress the smile on her face. She reached out to cover the wooden basket behind her to prevent it from swinging around, and shouted loudly, Alan, do you want to come with me? Okay, let's pick it together. Do you remember what the witch said? Shalan asked. Of course I remembered. The witch said not to pick mushrooms that are too bright, and don't touch those that look very beautiful, and, Yanhua said it in one breath. Subai gave them some warnings, because some wild mushrooms are highly poisonous. Eating it may cause diarrhea, and in severe cases, death. First, distinguish it from the color of the mushroom. Generally, poisonous mushrooms are brightly colored, like a beautiful flower, so brightly colored mushrooms must be picked with caution, especially purple mushrooms, which are highly toxic. Secondly, you can judge by the appearance of the mushrooms. Generally, non-poisonous mushroom manhole covers are relatively flat, just like the mushrooms bought in the Earth's vegetable market. There are no whorls on the mushrooms. For poisonous mushrooms, the center part of the manhole cover is concave and convex, with different shapes. The surface is relatively thick, and the neck is slender or thick and brittle, making it easy to break. In addition, after poisonous mushrooms are torn open, the branches and leaves will be relatively sticky, the color will also become brown, and there will be a pungent stench. It is also a good way to identify poisonous mushrooms by smell. Generally, poisonous mushrooms have a pungent smell. I thought you didn't remember. Shalan saw that the other party had been looking forward to going out. His face was all expressions of happiness, 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 and it seemed that he didn't remember it. He didn't expect to remember it so clearly. The cat-eared girl herself didn't need to say more, her memory is already very good, so these are no big deal to her. How is it possible? This is about what we have to eat into our stomachs. I dare not forget it, plus you are still with me. Yanhua said with a smile. Then the two of us should go back and collect more, so we can eat mushrooms tonight. Shalan laughed and said. This time I will be the first to, Yanhua said, full of fighting spirit. There is no competition this time, no first place. Shalan really can't do anything to the vitality girl. Yanhua fiddled with her black hair and said seriously, you have to be number one anytime and anywhere. Good, good, always be first. Shalan smiled and shook her head. Please update for support and customization. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 386. Chapter 386, Girls Picking Mushrooms. 2 more please customize. Looking around, the surface of the green forest is covered with a layer of gray mist. The scene is like a fairyland filled with fairy spirit, and the raindrops falling from the sky do not affect this at all. Yanhua and cat-eared girl kept jumping forward on the protruding tree roots, every step being steady. Because of the rain, some moss will grow on the tree roots, so the tree roots will become particularly slippery. You must be extra careful every step you take. Alan, you have to be careful, my area is particularly slippery, Yanhua warned from the front. Every step she took was very stable, and the grip on the soles of her feet was also very stable. Otherwise, it would be ugly if she fell, but it would be bad if she was injured. Well, you should be careful too. Shalan nodded and said. The cat-eared girl is very cautious. Every time she prepares to jump, she will first observe the environment in front of her to make sure there is no moss or other things on the tree root. Tap tap tap. Half an hour later, the two came to a relatively wide place, and the other preparatory soldiers also chose a place they thought was suitable. Everyone has good friends, so everyone will go to a certain place to pick. Not only will this not be too boring, it will also give you an extra layer of security. If any ferocious beasts or wild beasts appear, the two of you can still take care of each other. Alan, have you seen it? There are so many mushrooms here, Yanhua shouted in surprise. Niojiao Niang saw that there were mushrooms on the tree trunks and branches in the large open space, and they were all dazzling. There are really a lot of mushrooms. Wu was right. We never thought of them before. Shalan was also surprised. They also went into the forest during the rainy season before, but they didn't know that these things could be eaten. So they didn't notice these little things growing on the trunks at all, because they only saw moving beasts. Category. Will these things actually taste good? It looks a lot like an umbrella. Yanhua squatted down and looked at the mushrooms. Niojiao Niang smoothed out her raincoat and pulled off her straw hat. Because the trees in the forest were very tall and their branches and leaves were very lush, the rain was not as heavy as outside. It's really just like an umbrella. It looks like it should be edible. If Wu said it's edible, it must be delicious. Shalan said softly. The cat-eared lady believed in Subai. After all, the food she had eaten for so long was very delicious. Many things that looked ordinary, but tasted surprisingly delicious, so she also believes that this mushroom must be delicious. Let's pick them quickly. There are a lot of them. Yanhua couldn't wait to start picking. Niojiao Niang stretched out her hands to turn on the harvesting mode, and started picking according to the precautions Subai told her. However, when she started picking, she had already looked at it once, and followed Wu's instructions. Start sifting. I found that all the mushrooms in this large area are non-toxic, so I feel safe when picking them. This large area is non-toxic and can be collected in its entirety. Shalan also started to squat down and pick. Don't pick the small ones. Pick the big ones. Don't fill them up in a while, Yanhua said. Good. Shalan nodded and said. Swish swish. Pitter patter. The rain was still falling, and the forest was echoing with rustling sounds, and from time to time there were some animal sounds. These sounds echoed very crisply in the forest, matching the sound of rain falling on the leaves. Half an hour later, the Horn Lady and the others had finished picking the mushrooms in front of them. Yanhua stood up, wiped her sweat, straightened her raincoat, and said, "It's easier to pick mushrooms than you think." She originally thought that these mushrooms would grow very deep, and it would take a lot of effort to pull them out. Unexpectedly, I pulled it out as soon as I reached over. The action was very easy. Yes, it's really easy to pick. Let's go to the next area. All the big mushrooms here have been picked. Shalan suggested. Good. Yanhua immediately started looking for the next piece of mushroom in front. Tap tap tap. Shalan raised her head and saw many mushrooms growing on the trunk of a big tree, and said, "Ahwa, look." Yanhua also looked up and said, "These mushrooms are different from the ones we just picked. The mushrooms on the trunk are relatively large, much larger than the ones they picked just now. Those mushrooms just now were probably the size of a fist, but now the mushrooms on the trunk are as big as the two before. These mushrooms are so big. Let's pick them." Shalan suggested. Picking big mushrooms is much better than picking small mushrooms, and you will feel a full sense of accomplishment after picking them. "Okay, hold the basket for me, and I'll go check to see if it's poisonous." Yanhua took off the wooden basket on her back. Because the mushrooms grew relatively tall, and all they could see were the bottoms of the mushrooms, not the surface. She had to jump up to see the surface. "Well, you have to be careful," Shalan reminded. "No problem." Yanhua nodded and jumped up using the branches protruding from the side. She hugged the trunk and looked at the mushrooms. She found that although the mushrooms were very big, the colors on their surfaces were very bright. There were 3 or 4 colors in total. Every color is very bright, red and yellow mixed with some blue, which looks very beautiful. Yanhua shook his head after seeing those mushrooms and sighed, "No, they are poisonous." She jumped down helplessly. "It's a pity for these big mushrooms. If you pick a dozen or 20 non-poisonous flowers, you can fill the wooden basket." "Ah! It's actually poisonous. It seems that even the big ones are unreliable," Shalan said helplessly. "I just saw a lot of mushrooms over there on the tree. Let's go over there and have a look." Yanhua pointed in the far direction on the right. Shalan immediately straightened the wooden basket, nodded repeatedly and said, "Then what are you waiting for? Let's go quickly." "Just wait for me." Yanhua chased Muyuzai on her back and continued, "When did you become more active than me? I've been staying with you for a long time, haven't I?" Shalan said without looking back. "Hey, you can't rely on me for this, you learned from me yourself," Yanhua said jokingly. Tap tap tap. The two of them carried wooden baskets and came to the place that Niojiao Niang had just seen. There was another large area full of mushrooms. "There are a lot of them, so I'll start picking them." Yanhua rubbed her hands and said. Shalan glanced around and said, "There seem to be 2 varieties of mushrooms here. One is poisonous. You should pay attention when picking. One of the 2 kinds of mushrooms is bright red in color, and that kind is poisonous at first sight." "I know." Yanhua nodded and said. Second update, please support and customize. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 387. Chapter 387, It will cause diarrhea. 3 more, please customize. Many figures appeared in the forest, and they began to gather in one place. At first, everyone was preparing to leave the forest, because several hours had passed. The time has now reached 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the mushrooms prepared for the soldiers are almost ready. Everyone's wooden baskets were filled with mushrooms, and it could almost be said that everyone returned home with a full load. Yanhua patted the wooden basket she carried with her with satisfaction and said, "Can we still eat these mushrooms tonight?" When Nyojiao Niang was picking these mushrooms, she was thinking about what they would taste like. Although he is not a gluttonous person, Subai has been eating a lot of delicious food before, and he can't help but start to look forward to the taste of mushrooms. "It's definitely okay," Wu said, "as long as we pick the mushrooms back, we can eat them." Shalan is also looking forward to the taste of mushrooms. The cat-eared girl's mouth has also been raised. After eating so many delicious foods, she wants to change back to the barbecue before. Maybe there will be complaints. As the saying goes, it is easy to go from frugality to luxury, but it is difficult to go from luxury to frugality. Everyone likes to eat delicious food, but if you eat too much delicious food, you will not want to go back to the same food as before. "Let's go back quickly. I don't know what the witch will do with the mushrooms," Yanhua asked curiously. "Anyway, we'll find out when we get back." Shalan took the lead and walked in the direction of the tribe. Tap tap tap. Pitter patter. Everyone rushed to the tribe in the rain and fog, arrived at the gathering place in the morning, and placed their wooden baskets on the ground. Everyone's wooden basket was filled with mushrooms, and some even overflowed. Yan Jiao was already waiting for them, looking at everyone's wooden baskets filled with mushrooms. He nodded with satisfaction and said, "Very good, everyone has completed the task very well this time." "Yes," the preparatory soldiers responded in unison, with a smile on everyone's face. "Next, wait for the witch to judge. If you are sure that these mushrooms are non-toxic, you can roast them and eat them." Yan Jiao added. "Good," the prepared soldiers responded again. Tap tap tap. The horned lady, the cat-eared lady and some reserve warriors were responsible for moving all the mushrooms to the witch. Half an hour later, all the mushrooms appeared in the living room on the second floor of the cement house. Subai looked at the more than 20 baskets of mushrooms in the living room and said with satisfaction, "It's exactly what I thought." What he was thinking was that many mushrooms would grow during the rainy season, and the mushrooms picked at this time were the fattest. Also the freshest. "Wu, why do mushrooms only come out when it rains?" Yu Ying also saw mushrooms all over the house. But what she was curious about was, why do these things only grow when it rains, but not in normal times? This is just like rain snakes and tree cicadas. They can only grow under specific environments, so they are not available all the time, Subai said roughly. In fact, mushrooms are a relatively low-level plant. They belong to fungi and do not produce seeds. They can only produce spores for reproduction. Wherever the spores are spread, new ones will grow. Mushrooms cannot produce nutrients themselves, so they can only use their mycelium to extend into the soil and rotten wood. Then they absorb ready-made nutrients to maintain life, so mushrooms often grow in moist, warm, and rich places, where there is organic matter. When the spores fall into the soil, they produce mycelium to absorb nutrients and water, and then produce fruiting bodies. This is the mushroom you usually see, but the fruiting bodies are very small at first and are not easy to be discovered by people. You have to wait until after absorbing water, they will stretch out in a short period of time. Therefore, after it rains, mushrooms will grow more and more quickly. Of course, mushrooms can also be grown in normal times, but they are very, very small, and they have to be only when the environment is very humid can mushrooms grow. The mushrooms grown at that time do not taste very good, because it is a humid environment after all, and the smell in such an environment is relatively strong. It does not taste very good, so mushrooms grown on days without rain are fresh and plump. So that's it. Yu Ying nodded thoughtfully and continued to ask Wu Ying, "How do you eat these mushrooms? Is it okay to eat it raw?" Just like the last time I had lettuce. Yanhua already has a mushroom in her hand. "No, mushrooms cannot be eaten raw. There are many substances in them that are harmful to the body. They must be cooked before eating," Subai said immediately. Because some wild mushrooms contain various toxic peptides and alkaline substances, these substances are very harmful to the human body. They must be heated to high temperatures before they are damaged. Eating them raw can cause diarrhea and poisoning, even endangering life and health. When Yanhua heard about the harmful substances, she immediately put down the mushrooms in her hands. She clapped her hands and asked Wu, should those mushrooms be eaten roasted? Mushrooms can be prepared grilled or boiled in many ways, Subai said lightly. There are too many delicacies about mushrooms on the earth, including fried, boiled, and all kinds of soups. Wu, can we start eating mushrooms? Yu Ying shook her pink foxtail expectantly. Wait a minute, I want to check if the mushrooms you picked are all non-toxic, Subai raised his hand and said. He still had to do this step. After all, it was the first time for the preparatory soldiers to pick mushrooms. Their knowledge about mushrooms can be said to be zero, so they must look at these mushrooms first. Okay. Only after all the mushrooms are in good condition can they be distributed to the people of the tribe. If some of these mushrooms are poisonous, they can also be used as teaching materials to remind the preparatory soldiers not to pick these mushrooms next time. Wu, let me help you, Yu Ying said immediately. Pour out all the mushrooms. I want to see them all, Subai nodded and said. Yes, the girls in Seoul said in unison. Subai began to squat down and look at the mushrooms everywhere. This scene looked a bit like a mushroom cellar. Because there were more than 20 wooden baskets of mushrooms, the inspection took almost half an hour. When Subai checked the mushrooms, he was not careless at all. He looked carefully at them one by one. Of course, he did not squat down and look directly, but glanced at them one by one and picked them up if they saw anything suspicious. You can just glance at the seemingly non-toxic mushrooms and don't spend too much time on them. Third update, please support and customize. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 388. Chapter 388, Wild Boar Oil. 4 more, please customize. Wu, there should be nothing wrong with these mushrooms, right? Yanhua asked expectantly. She picked many kinds of mushrooms, 4 or 5 kinds in total, because in her eyes they were all non-toxic. I told you not to choose so many kinds at that time. Shalan smiled. The cat-eared lady picked 2 kinds of mushrooms in total, both of which looked ordinary gray-brown in appearance. Most of them are fine, but there is a problem with this kind of mushroom, so don't pick them again next time. Subai handed over a piece of mushroom. That piece of mushroom was obviously a poisonous mushroom, and all the characteristics were consistent with poisonous mushrooms. The only difference is the color. Although it is not very bright, it is not as bright as other mushrooms. A bit abnormal. Okay, I'll tell them, Yanhua responded immediately, and then picked out all the poisonous mushrooms in the mushroom pile. Pack up all these mushrooms, keep a few, and distribute the rest to the tribesmen, Subai ordered. The mushrooms picked today must be eaten fresh. If they are left for too long, they will become stale and may even rot. The rainy season is so long and the forest is so big, it is impossible to finish picking all the mushrooms. Just pick it again when needed. Subai originally planned to buy some dried mushrooms, but because it was raining and there was no sun, he gave up the idea. Good. The beast-ear girls began to put the mushrooms back into the basket. After 10 minutes, all the mushrooms were cleaned out, leaving only a few mushrooms. Wu, how to make these mushrooms? Yu Ying can't wait to learn how to make new foods. First take these mushrooms and clean them. Make sure they are clean inside and out, Subai warned. Immediately Yu Ying nodded immediately. Coco looked at those mushrooms and felt they looked familiar. She frowned and said, I always feel like I've seen them somewhere before. While the girls were checking the mushrooms, the blonde girl was watching from the side. She didn't know what to do, and she couldn't help. She didn't know what they were doing, so she had to watch from the side. Did you remember something? Subai asked. It always feels very familiar, but I feel like something is wrong, and I can't put my finger on it anyway. Coco shook her head and said. Then don't think about it, just wait and eat, Subai replied in a Buddhist style. He was not in a hurry about the memory of the blonde girl. It all depends on the other party whether he can think of it or not. This kind of thing is useful if you don't force it. Anyway, he will cast healing spells on the place every day. As for whether he can think of it or not, it depends on the other person how much they stand up. Keek was a little surprised. She didn't expect that the witches in this tribe were so easy to get along with. In her impression, weren't the witches in the tribe all old men? And they all looked very old-fashioned. Why did the person in front of her look like this? Is it different? It's obvious that I'm not from this tribe. But the other party didn't act very wary, and even entertained me with delicious food and drinks. In addition, there are all the strange things about this tribe, whether it's a house or a cement road. Even the big shed made her feel strange. Tap tap tap. Yuying ran back with a dustpan of mushrooms in her arms, and her soft and cute voice sounded, "Which, all the mushrooms have been washed." "Set it aside and let it drain," Subai said lightly. He started to put the iron pot on the fire pit, and then added a piece of animal oil into the iron pot. These animal oils were extracted by him and can be used when cooking or cooking noodles. Otherwise, they will not be eaten. They all taste dry. And these animal oils are made from wild boar meat. After solidification, they will be like pieces of yellow oil. Just dig a little when you want to use it. Zilla zilla. The wild boar oil made a sizzling sound when placed in the hot iron pot. The originally lumpy wild boar oil suddenly turned into a liquid form. Zilla zilla. Subai picked up the drained mushrooms nearby and threw some in. Instantly, the sizzling sound became louder. The mushrooms were tumbling in wild boar fat, slowly changing color from their original gray-brown color, and turned yellow in less than a minute. The beast-eared girls were all watching attentively, and no one dared to speak for fear of disturbing the wizard. Subai took out the spatula provided by the system and began to tumble the mushrooms to prevent them from burning or sticking to the pan. Brush brush brush. The spatula collided with the iron pot, making a constant swishing sound. The mushrooms were turned over evenly, and gradually the color began to turn golden. "Xiao, bring me a plate and put some leaves on it," Subai ordered. He wanted to pack all the fried mushrooms. The reason why he put the leaves was to absorb some oil. Good. Yu Ying turned around and brought a plate covered with leaves. Brush brush brush. Subai skillfully took out all the mushrooms from the iron pot, and the plate was filled with fried mushrooms. He put the mushrooms on the table and said, "The fried mushrooms are ready. Let's try it." The beast-ear girls all looked at the plate of mushrooms in surprise. They didn't expect that the preparation method was so simple, but the fragrance of the mushrooms smelled amazing. Good smell. "Woo, is this okay?" Yu Ying couldn't believe that the process was so fast. Subai thought for a moment, took out a clay pot with salt, took out a little bit and sprinkled it evenly on the fried mushrooms, and then sprinkled a little cumin powder. The cumin powder is also prepared by the system. Although it is only a small can, it is better than nothing. That's it. Subai clapped his hands. Fourth update, please support and customize. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 389. Chapter 389, The Law of True Fragrance. One more please customize. Yuying blinked her pink eyes and looked at the fried mushrooms, and couldn't help but swallow her saliva. The aroma wafting out is so fragrant that people can't help but want to take a bite. "Xiao, brew some tea and come over. Mushrooms may be a bit dry to eat alone," Subai said softly. Good Yu Ying couldn't wait to turn around and go brew. Woo, this is ready to eat, right? Yan Hua's eyes also fell on those fried mushrooms. Coco was also stunned. A lot of saliva was already secreted from her mouth, and her throat was visibly rolling. It's ready to eat, use chopsticks, Subai warned. He didn't want the girls to eat with dirty hands and end up with a bad stomach. Good Yanhua picked up the chopsticks and waited for Wu to eat first, then took a piece and put it into her mouth. The cat-eared girl was the same, she waited for Subai to eat first before daring to use chopsticks. The blonde girl also started to use chopsticks in a decent manner. Although it said it was very cumbersome to use, but overall it went smoothly. I caught a piece of fried mushroom. Click click click. The fried mushrooms made a crisp clicking sound when they were put into the mouth and chewed. The fox-eared lady came belatedly after making tea, and also put a piece of fried mushroom into her mouth to eat. Woo, it's delicious. Yu Ying's pink eyes suddenly opened wide, and the expression on her face was full of surprise. So crispy, salty and it tastes very fragrant and delicious, Coco said in shock. This is the first time for the blonde girl to eat food with this kind of taste, and the texture is also the first time to eat such crispy food. This kind of muscle memory cannot be deceived. If you haven't eaten it before, you haven't eaten it before. Delicious is delicious. It is different from the food we have eaten before. Yanhua's mouth has been stuffed with a lot of fried mushrooms. It was the first time for Niojiao Niang to eat such food, and the aroma filled her mouth. It was really unforgettable. This is the delicacy of nature, and there are many more delicacies in the forest, Subai said softly. Although the fried mushrooms are not as delicious as he expected, they are quite good among primitive tribes. At least there is salt and cumin, otherwise it will probably be difficult to swallow even if they are fried. It's really tasteless. Delicious. Yu Ying also kept eating fried mushrooms. Woo, there are a lot more. Do they all need to be used to make fried mushrooms? Yanhua asked curiously. Subai turned back to look at the mushrooms and said, there are many other delicacies that can be made, not just fried mushrooms. There are so many ways to make mushrooms. Not only fried, but also fried, boiled, or made into soup. They are all delicious. Woo, then these mushrooms can still be used. What is it used for? Yu Ying still had a lot of fried mushrooms in her mouth, and her speech was slurred. Subai looked at the mushrooms on the dustpan and saw that there were fungus on them, and suddenly thought of the cold dish of fungus. He smiling slightly, he said, Xiao Yu, prepare some orchids and chili for me, and make a cold dish for you to eat. Good Yu Ying took another piece of fried mushroom before leaving. Cold dish? Woo, what is cold dish? Yanhua asked curiously. This vocabulary is very novel. Cold dishes are cold appetizers, not hot ones, Subai explained simply and crudely. Yanhua nodded in understanding and asked doubtfully, isn't it hot? Is it meant to be cooled? Ha ha ha, you'll find out later. Subai poured a little water into the iron pot and prepared to boil it to blanch the fungus. Gila gila. The water in the iron pot slowly boiled, and Subai put the washed black fungus in and let them tumble inside. A few minutes later, he picked up the cooked black fungus and let it cool for later use. Then he started cutting the peppers and squeezing the juice from the orchid seafruit. Because lanhai fruit is sour, it can be used as a substitute for vinegar. Anyway, there is no vinegar now. After mixing the sauce, Subai took the cooled black fungus over, poured it all into the sauce and started stirring. After mixing it skillfully, he took a bite and said with satisfaction, although the taste is different from what I have eaten before, it tastes very good. Woo, is this really edible? Yanhua saw those black fungus. Of course, it tastes pretty good, you'll know after you try it. Subai handed the plate over. Yanhua picked up the chopsticks and tentatively put a small piece into his mouth. After taking 2 bites, his face was full of surprise. She nodded repeatedly to indicate the deliciousness, It turns out there is another kind of mushroom. What a taste, so delicious. This is called fungus, and it tastes better served cold, Subai explained softly. On the other side of the earth, this pre-dinner dish is often served on the dining table. Men, women, old and young alike like to eat it. In addition to being refreshing, it is also very appetizing, and the preparation method is not difficult and less expensive. Yu Ying was also driven by curiosity. She picked up a piece with chopsticks and put it into her mouth, nodding her head in praise. Of course, Shaylin and Coco were no exception. They also picked up a piece and ate it, and received all the comments. It's unanimously praised. Woo, this tastes delicious too. I can eat a lot. Yu Ying happily shook her pink foxtail. If you like, eat more. There is still a lot. Let's have a mushroom feast today, Subai smiled and said. Woo, what else can you do with mushrooms? I want to learn. Yu Ying looked forward to it. Fox Ear Girl also wanted to learn more about how to make delicious food, so that she could make more food for Wu. Instead of just having Painazetum noodles and barbecue, there would be more types of food. There are more choices. Then you can watch from the sidelines while we make a mushroom pork ribs soup, Subai said lightly. He had never had a real sip of soup after coming to the tribe for so long. There happened to be fresh and sweet mushrooms that could be used to make soup. Subai asked the fox-eared lady to clean some beast bones and some ingredients. Then he was preparing to boil water. The other beast-eared girls were watching silently, but they didn't intend to learn, they wouldn't be able to learn anyway. Xiao, just watch me do it once. If you don't understand anything, just ask me again, Subai said softly. Yes, Yu Ying nodded heavily. Subai washed the ribs and chopped them into small pieces, then added cold water to the iron pot, lowered the ribs into the pot and lit the fire. After the water boiled, he fished out the blood foam on the water surface, and put the ribs on fire. Keep it for later use. Then wash the white mushrooms with water and fish them out. Finally, add water to the pot, then add the blanched ribs, onions, ginger, garlic, and some other seasonings. Just wait for them to boil, add salt and eat, Subai smiled and said. Good, the beast-eared girls responded in unison. Please update for support and customization. I was a village chief in a primitive society. Author, Big White Monster. Chapter 390. Chapter 390, River Bear. 2 more please customize. Ouch, ow, ow. Waves of deep sounds sounded, which were very loud and penetrating. This kind of cry echoed throughout the entire Yanlong tribe, and it continued. At this moment, the preparatory soldiers who were training suddenly stopped what they were doing, and everyone stood up straight. Their expressions looked very serious. When they heard the sound, they felt a chill running from the soles of their feet to their scalps. Ouch, ow, ow. This low sound kept ringing, and the vibrations of the rain and fog could be seen with the naked eye. The preparatory soldiers did not dare to slack off and started running immediately. They climbed to high places and looked in the direction of the river. They are most familiar with this cry, which sounds every year during the rainy season. Nothing else, this cry is coming from the ferocious beast in the river. Every time after a few days of rainy season, this ferocious beast will climb ashore. Although it was raining heavily, the rain curtain could block the view, even though the river was some distance away from the tribe, even though the figure of the ferocious beast was not fully revealed. But looking at it from a high place, one can still see the huge size of this ferocious beast. In fact, the people of the tribe have always been worried about this. They don't dare to approach the river easily, and they don't dare to play on the river easily. Because they had already seen such a huge ferocious beast during the rainy season, they usually dare not get close there. The last time Subai asked the totem warriors to hunt fish by the river, those totem warriors were a little frightened. Because they had seen the ferocity of the ferocious beasts in the river, they would not have gone if it had not been the rainy season. It is precisely because of this that the tribe is blocked from exploring the other side of the river, and no one dares to approach the river easily. The name of this ferocious beast entrenched in the river is river bear. It is also the only ferocious beast whose name is known in this huge river with no end in sight. Just like its name, it is very large and looks very similar to a bear. The only difference is that there are webs between its paws, and the hair on its body is not as long as a bear's hair, but is very short, just like a seal's fur. Many people mistakenly think that seal fur is the kind of slippery skin, but it actually has a layer of hair on the surface, but that layer of hair is very short and dense, and becomes very smooth when it encounters water. It looks like the skin. No difference. Such a large body and ferocious appearance, coupled with that deep voice, give people a sense of oppression. I haven't really gotten close enough to see what it looks like, but just seeing those black figures from a high place now makes people shy away. When these river bears actually appear, it means that the rainy season has begun to enter its most severe period. In the previous rainy seasons, the rain fell evenly, but when the river bears appeared, it would rain more and more heavily. It is not like the gentle breeze blowing like before, but it will bring storms, and the rain will become heavier and heavier. The river bear began to slowly climb up the bank, shouting as it climbed, and the sound was deafening. Just like the ship whistle on the other side of the earth, it gradually turned from low at the beginning to harsh and loud. But because it was too big, it didn't climb up directly, and then sank into the water again. When it sank into the water, it made a low sound again. The low sound was different from the loud and harsh sound. The former sound makes people feel chest tightness and discomfort, while the latter sound makes people feel as if their eardrums are about to be punctured. Both sounds bring people extremely uncomfortable feelings. When the river bear appears, it is simply torture. At this moment, the preparatory soldiers who were standing high up and observing the riverside all covered their ears, and their expressions were very sad. The cry of the river bear is so uncomfortable that it is torture for them every year. Even if they cover their ears, the sound will still penetrate. They couldn't hide even if they wanted to. If these ferocious beasts climbed ashore, they would be responsible for driving these ferocious beasts away. Not only the reserve warriors or totem warriors, but also the people of the tribe can't stand this sound. Every time a river bear appears, they hide in their homes and cover their ears tightly to avoid hearing the sound. But this is almost useless. The penetrating power of those sounds is still very strong. Some people with poor health will be fainted by the sounds, and their ears may even bleed. But this is a feast for the river beasts. They like the rainy season best. They frequently stick their bodies out of the water and roar loudly. As if they were celebrating something, those unscrupulous shouts said it all. However, due to their very large size, it is very difficult to get ashore. Sometimes, even if you climb the mountain for a whole day, you may not be able to climb ashore. If they could land easily, then the tribe would probably cease to exist long ago. It is precisely because it is so difficult for them to land that the tribe's warriors have enough time to respond. Ahwa, the river bears have appeared again. Go and tell the chief that we are going to drive them down. Shalan shouted loudly. Let's prepare here first. My father must have heard the sound and is coming over. Yanhua also responded loudly. Because the river bear's cry is very loud, and it has been raining heavily, they can only communicate by shouting. Okay, let's get weapons. This time with the longbow we should be able to drive them away easily. Shalan nodded and said. Tap tap tap. The preparatory warriors jumped back to the ground one after another, started to get their weapons, and were ready to wait for the totem warrior to lead them to the river. Pitter-patter. Subai came out holding an umbrella. He was also shocked by such a loud sound, but fortunately, he didn't feel any discomfort. Whether it's my ears or my chest, I don't feel chest tightness or harshness, I just feel that the sound is very loud. But he saw the fox-eared girl and the blonde girl, both of whom looked uncomfortable. After questioning, I learned that their ears were very uncomfortable and their chests even hurt. After performing a healing spell on them, he took them out of the cement house to see what was wrong. On the way here, I heard the fox-eared lady talk about the source of the cry, and then I realized that it was a legitimate ferocious beast. "Woo, it's too dangerous, you'd better go back," Yu Ying said worriedly. Although the healing technique was performed, it was only a short-term relief and could not completely cure it. The fox-eared lady's ears and chest were very uncomfortable, especially when those river bears continued to when calling. "It doesn't matter, go and have a look first," Subai shook his head and said. Second update, please support and customize.